So Sophie Cunningham stays standing on business about the JC Sheldon tackle incident and tells us why she did it and where in the world is DeWanna Bonner. So first of all, there was a practice. They did their media during the practice. They pulled Sophie Cunningham aside, and of course they asked her about the JC Sheldon incident, and she stood on business. She said, this has been going on for a couple years now. Mind you, she was on the Phoenix Mercury last season, but she had mentioned that this had been going on for a couple years now with Caitlin Clark, and she was basically sending a message.
During that, it was just part of the game. I think the refs had a lot to do with that. It was a build-up for a couple of years now of them just not protecting, the star player of the WNBA. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to protect my teammates. That's what I do, and I'm a team player. So
there's so much debate about why Sophie Cunningham did this in the last 46 seconds of the game when they were up 17 seconds. The coach of the Connecticut Sun even called it out. He said that was just, he actually called it stupid when they were up 17 points, but it was clear to at least most of us, at least the people that have been watching the Fever games, that was a message. Because I'm not going to say it doesn't happen to other people in the league, but legitimately, when Caitlin Clark was out for 2 weeks, the viewership went down 55%. That is a bananas numbers for one person. So there is an importance to her. There is an importance to her, not just for her, for like the growth of the entire league. And I haven't chimed into the protect the golden goose talk yet. I'm a person that likes to get along with everybody, but I've always felt that there's merit to that. I've just never wanted to like throw it in anyone's face, but it's true. What happens if Caitlin Clark goes down? You got to protect her. You have to at least protect her against the excessive physicality that seems to be, called against the Fever more than for the Fever. And Rebecca Lobo said it. She said she talked to a whole bunch of coaches in the WNBA, and they were all complaining about the efficiency also. And all they were asking for is consistency, so that at least people can understand how hard they can go and how much they should prepare for the physicality. Now, I kind of don't think it should get that physical. I think that the way that it was in the last Liberty game was ideal. But Sophie Cunningham has become an absolute hero. Her TikTok, she had 300,000 followers, and what was it? 2 days later, she had over 1 million followers. Now, that generates into so much revenue, I can tell you, because that turns into ads. That turns into how many people are willing to pay for ads on your channel or your TikTok or whatever your content platform is. I'm still working my way up to that. But there is a line, and it's like when people aren't standing up for you, you can't just lay down and let things happen. And I think that was the message that Sophie Cunningham was delivering. She just wanted to protect her teammate. She has been noticing this for the past 2 years going on with Caitlin Clark. It does kind of seem like an odd situation that it's specifically Caitlin Clark, especially given her importance to the league. I don't think that I don't think the NBA had this when Jordan entered. I think that they were better established than the WNBA. I can't attest to that myself, as I wasn't really old enough to understand. But let's just say Kobe or Steph Curry, the NBA was established, and the importance of the NBA did not heavily rely on Steph Curry or Kobe Bryant, but everybody knew you don't touch those two. But moving on, Stephanie White was also interviewed at the practice session wearing this funny little happy birthday tiara thing. And she was asked about DeWanna Bonner, and I don't know, to me, the way she talked about it, I might be reading way too much into this, but her tone didn't exactly sound positive. But let's take a watch.
I also wanted to ask about DeWanna. Just how is she doing? Is there any timeline for her return?
Yeah, she's doing.
You know what? It is so hard to take her seriously when she's talking about something this serious and wearing that tiara. But sorry, I had to say that.
Well, she's doing well. Again, no timeline. I think it's day to day.
Here, let's watch that again.
Just make sure that, she's doing well. She's doing well. Again, no timeline. I think it's day to day, and for us to just make sure that we're continuing to be supportive of DB in her time away.
Steph, what do you take from this game?
Okay, so I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm trying to be too psychological here, but the way her voice dips like that, and when she says that we're just trying to be supportive of DB, there's definitely something going on. I don't exactly know what it is. It's hard to It's hard to say, and of course, it is a personal issue, but there are so many, nuggets and clues that we can derive just from Alyssa Thomas being in the league and playing like very well, actually, very well. They beat who they beat the Chicago Sky. They beat the pants off the Chicago Sky today, actually. Oh my God. And then they beat the Liberty, and Alyssa Thomas is doing like crazy good. She's laughing on the court. She's smiling. So it's hard to, and I know that DeWanna Bonner has kids with a former partner, but Alyssa Thomas and her are very close. So I would think that if something were, going on like that, Alyssa Thomas would be right by DeWanna Bonner's side. Now, Ari McDonald is still free and open, and the masses have spoken that, the Fever FC wants Ari McDonald so bad. And it was previously stated by the front office that they were not going to be able to bring her back. It was stated to sources, but I think that I don't know, are they rethinking this now? Because it sure does seem like it, because Ari McDonald did not sign with any other teams that had hardship availability. Again, that could be because Ari McDonald is looking for something a little more permanent, because she is good enough to be at least a backup point guard on a team. She does fit the modern basketballness, the direction that the WNBA is going, which is obviously like you have to have a 3-point shot. Ari McDonald has a 3-point shot. You have to be able to run and gun. Ari McDonald is pretty speedy, and she can read the floor and make high IQ assists. It's possible that the more the Fever have been playing, they're kind of understanding that the roster construction that they put together in the offseason, it's not, I hate to say this, but it's not something that I see as a big threat. We have players that need to be faster. I think that that's just the bottom line. Can't sugarcoat it. I don't think that the front office would ask DeWanna Bonner to take a step back, but I also have been seeing DeWanna Bonner on the court. I've been reading her body language like I was trying to do with Stephanie White here. So take all of this with a grain of salt, because it's not my forte. But I do read things very intuitively. That is how I view basketball. I think that very often, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I recognize things very quickly. And if I'm just going to speculate about DeWanna Bonner based solely on my intuition, she has been having a rough go of it for the start of the season. There have been many reasons that I say this, because in the very beginning, in training camp, I remember DeWanna Bonner saying that she has been losing her breath trying to keep up with the young guns. I've been watching her in games trying to run up in transition, and she lags behind. I see her in like moments where she's not getting a foul called, and it should be called, how frustrating that is for her. I see her frustrations when she's missing her shot, and she has not come into her rhythm. She has not come into her shot this season yet. And this kind of stuff can be hard on a player that is used to being an all-star, a player that holds the record for third most points in the entire WNBA, and maybe she's assessing things herself. Again, complete and total speculation. Take it with a grain of salt. But DeWanna Bonner is averaging 7.1 points per game this season. She is averaging a career low 21 minutes per game this season. 7.1 points per game is also a career low. And she has had 1 or 2 games where she has been hitting her shots, but her biggest impact on the team thus far has been her defense. Caitlin Clark was also interviewed in between practices, and she talked about her game. Obviously, she didn't feel she did the best. Let's take a listen to what she said, though.
It's a 44-game season. I'm not going to play perfect for 44 games, and I think that's where I really kind of struggled last year at times. I held myself to such a level of perfection every single night that I wasn't really giving myself much grace. And, I didn't play very well at Golden State, and to me, I wasn't defeated after the game. Was I upset of the way my team performed? Absolutely, but that doesn't define our season by any means. I think you have to look at it in the best possible manner you can, and I think that's kind of where I've grown the most, is just allowing myself some grace, and knowing not every night is going to be perfect. 2 games prior.
Gosh, the guy with the fever, I think that's a guy with the fever microphone, is getting mighty close to her.
Prior to our last game, I'd been shooting the ball incredibly well, so it's just statistics, but overall, we need to play a better game, but I think it's just a sense of confidence just having a year under my belt.
So that sounds pretty good. I can't say that I was disappointed. I was disappointed because Caitlin Clark is obviously going to have an off night, but it would be so good if the Indiana Fever and the rest of the team could pick it up, and that's just not something that I see happening. That is not something that I saw happening last season, and I think we were all kind of like, I don't want to say hoodwinked, but like we were all kind of like made to feel that this was going to be a team of veterans, and this is going to be a team that is going to be able to like bring it home for everybody and is going to be able to support Caitlin Clark. She's never had as much talent around her, and I feel like I'm feeling the same thing as I did last season, where every time she goes off the court, I'm holding my breath. Did she have a stinker? Oh yeah, she had a stinker. But here's the thing. When you look at the New York Liberty, Sabrina can have a stinker and Stewie will throw down 32 points, and JJ's right there to back her up. And if JJ goes out, then Sabrina's going to throw down 32 points. And it's just like, that is not something readily available on the Indiana Fever. Now, DeWanna Bonner is on an unprotected contract. And I don't even want to like assume this yet, but I'm just throwing this out there. She is on an unprotected contract. I don't think that the Indiana Fever would ask her to step away. If anything, like my speculation is she might be the one wanting to step away for a little while, step away from all the pressure. And maybe they suspend her contract like for a certain amount of time. I'm not really sure, but these are just things that they can do. As far as what they will do, that is still yet to be determined. I can only assume that playing under the spotlight that Caitlin Clark brought to the WNBA is not something that would be easy, especially for someone that's been in the league so much and so long. She has been in the league for 16 years, so she is used to things being a certain way. But I do hope that everything is okay. I do hope that we find out what's going on soon, because she is not slated to play in the next game, and that will be her 4th missed game, which is, there's 44 games in the season. So I think that at some point we should figure out like what's going on, because Damiris Dantas is now out. So there are 9 available players to play for the team. And, if somebody gets injured, I mean, they're skating on thin ice. I mean, another hardship contract. I mean, I guess they could sign Ari McDonald. That also really doesn't leave much in the way of their front court, though, to be honest, because I'm assuming that they're going to be putting in Bree Turner instead of Michaela Timpson. Hopefully they will be rotating in Michaela Timpson a lot more, but we shall see. And until then, until I hear anything, I will see you next time.